Hi everybody, I'm Eric Moncrief, the Green Guy on AIB TV Network, on another edition of Grow. In this episode, we'll visit an eco-friendly community called Serenbe. You'll learn about Earthship and cob construction, 2 eco-friendly building methods, plus learn about a vegan twist on a classic appetizer. But first, we're heading south of Atlanta to a place where the word sustainable is built into the very walls of the community called Serenbe. Steve Nygren is Serenbe's founder. We caught up with him on a sunny but windy day.
So we were concerned about urban sprawl disturbing this paradise that we'd found on the edge. The first reaction, of course, was to buy more land to protect us. And at 1,000 acres, I realized I couldn't afford to keep doing that. And 1,000 acres really doesn't protect you if you're talking about urban sprawl. And so that began our effort to look at a new model. The way we've developed community in the last several decades, it's larger land and more of all the toys on our own property, whether it's a pool, a media room, the tennis courts, and so much so that then we put fences around them and no sidewalks because everybody has it. So when we started looking at the model we wanted, looking at Europe initially, but also looking at America 80 years ago, when we had a sense of community, where front porches were pulled up near the street, where we walked to get our mail, where people knew one another. And so as we've looked at this, and a lot of reports are coming now about happiness, that it's a connection to each other and a connection to nature are key components. And we've been building communities, or I should say places for people to exist, that remove us from both of those. So as Serenbe is all about connecting you to one another and to nature. And the interesting thing is that now people have been here about 10 years, some of the early residents. And while we started as an environmental community, and we still are, all the environmental principles, the big story coming out is health benefits. And that we're seeing, and that's by that connection, I believe, to nature and each other, we're seeing people have a better attitude to life, and it actually affects physical health.
Steve Hurwitz is a longtime Serenbe resident.
We got here, and it was very small, and there were only a few people. But as it grew, I did want to talk about one thing in terms of sustainability, and that's sustainability of the human condition. You know, because for me, you know, going into my 7th decade, when we moved here in my 6th decade, it didn't seem that important, but now that I'm aging in place, as we say today, it's really important for me to continue to grow my world. And people might think, well, here you are in South Fulton County and you're kind of in an enclave, kind of a place that's very special, and your world could become very small if you chose it to be. But Serenbe is the exact opposite of that. There are so many things going on that are both sponsored, the Serenbe Institute, the Artists in Residence, the Playhouse, many, many things, nature walks. A lot of it is organic. It's the people that live here. And those people make a huge difference in my life. And instead of retreating, and frankly, being an adult community, an over 55 community, we've made the opposite choice. We want to be with diversity. We want to be learning. We don't need to go to a pottery class for people that are our age and older. We'd rather be out with, we go to parties, there are people with infants in arms, and there are people in walkers. So Serenbe, it defies demographics. But what I have learned over the last few years particularly is that my world's getting bigger. And that is probably the opposite of conventional wisdom. Yeah, we travel a lot. But while we're here, we're traveling because we meet so many people. and we do so many things.
Quinn Nygren, Steve's daughter, describes Serenbe's organic life house as a model home for green living.
So everything that was picked was all environmentally friendly and vetted in that way. So from everything behind the walls with the insulation to the floors and all of the finishes used. So that's everything from low to no VOCs and just no formaldehyde like in any of the wood products, all the finishes, the trim, the doors. You'll notice that there's a lot of concrete throughout the house. We do have the solar panels on this side of the house, and you're not necessarily able to see them from every angle, but yes, so that is another sustainable feature of the house, as well as there is geothermal for this house and every house that is in Motto. The Motto is the third neighborhood here at Serenbe, and it is focused on health and wellness, so and kind of about living a life in balance. Geothermal brings the natural heat from the earth to heat and cool the house and is throughout the walls here. Then there's also, with the landscaping that you'll notice outside, it is partially edible. So there are garden beds on the front porch here that the homeowners will be able to go pick their lettuce and then bring it right back in and eat.
Matt Clayton and Callie Foley are Serenbe's resident farmers.
For the most part, we get here on farm at 8 o'clock every day, and we have a staff of interns and staff that we then sort of delegate out the workload for the day. Callie's on farm 2 or 3 days a week, and then is in-house doing a bunch of admin work. Thank the Lord, she does all that stuff. So I stay in the dirt, and she handles a lot of that end of the business.
We're happy dividing it that way.
Yes.
He does tractor stuff, I do computer stuff.
We provide a wide range of fruits and vegetables, from everything from lettuce, kales, spinaches, up to we do a lot of different fruits, vegetables, ranging from we do muscadines that we turn into jams in the season, and strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. Got a couple different fruit tree varieties out there. And we're fortunate here within Serenbe to have that sort of built-in community base, and that those folks that are living here in such close proximity to the farm are at the same time our customer base. So we can connect with those people on a weekly basis and then, see them and experience them, and they can experience our farm and our family at the same time.
They've chosen to live here because of that type of mentality and philosophy. We do open tours to the public every Saturday, and so in those tours we have people all the time that are saying, like, I live in a community in Paraguay that has been based around Serenbe, so I wanted to come see Serenbe, or we've been living in Atlanta all this time and have been wanting to get down here and see it. It is a big movement. It's important to know your farmer and to know where your food comes from. It's the one thing that everyone on the planet shares is our food system, and so you need to know it, and you need to know that it's being cared for properly.
We grow farmers here at Serenbe Farms, so we're always trying to cultivate new farmers that are then going to go off and do their own projects in the future or immediately after leaving here at Serenbe Farms. So at any point in time, we have 2 or 3 interns that are here in-house, and it's a pretty competitive internship in that we have about 300 applicants a year, and we take 3 or 4 of them, and the majority of those folks that are coming on are in their 2nd or 3rd internship, and then will be going on to either purchase their own piece of land here after this or manage something in a similar setting to where Callie and I are right now.
Mm-hmm. And Matt is a 4th generation vegetable farmer, so he comes, preloaded with a bunch of just natural farming wisdom that you're not going to get from another farmer working for them. So it's a great benefit to our interns as well. They learn a lot more than just planting plants. They learn so much about farm setup and just equipment and stuff. And then my strength that I bring to it is I can teach them about the business side. So I'm teaching them, when to plant, how to plant for profit, the right markets to take it to, all those type of things. So we leave them with the farming knowledge, but also how to make it work for their life to where they can support themselves off farming too.
Every little bit counts. You know, make an attempt at anything you can. You know, rain barrel on your house, to a compost bin on your backyard. There's a lot of things that everybody can do regardless of you know, how much space you're working with.
And by joining CSA at your local farm, it reduces so much of the carbon footprint for the farm, but also, you know, if you're going directly to the source and getting your food there, you're not relying on trucks going all around the country delivering to grocery stores either. You can come directly to us, get your food, see where it was grown, and just enjoy.
You can only plan so much, and it's just how you deal with the adversities of the everyday is you know, what you are and who you are.
We're just basically caretakers trying to give every little plant the best environment it can have.
The arts are a key component of Serenbe life. Janice Barton is among those who coordinate the arts program.
This is really a magical place because Steve Nygren, the founder of Serenbe, had the foresight to have this idea of a community of arts, nature, culture, and the environment. And to fund that, you know, to have something that might incubate programming for the community, there is a transaction fee on real estate sales, in both lots and developed property. And that funds the Serenbe Institute. And when I first came in 2008, I think about 2009 or 10, someone said, I said, you know, well, now I think I'm kind of ready to get involved. What goes on here? And you know, it's arts, and I'm real interested in art, so how do I do that? So, oh, come on with me, I'm going to the Visual Arts Committee meeting. So I went, and at that time, Serenbe, the Artist in Residence program at Serenbe, was a committee of the Serenbe Institute. And the Institute kind of incubates these ideas, but it takes people of passion to move them forward, who are willing to give a lot of time and energy to support that initiative. And we were really lucky to have as a resident here Tom Swanston, who is an Atlanta artist, very well-known artist in this area. And Tom championed the Artist in Residence program. So we kept growing and expanding, you know, developed a board. We went from a budget of about $5,000 to this year we have a $250,000 budget. So we're very excited about the things we're doing, which is primarily giving artists uninterrupted time and space to nurture that creative energy. And in an environment like this, which is just, I think, very conducive to that kind of thinking. We started a playhouse with no theater, and we started an artist in residence program with no residents. We had no place to put artists. So initially, they stayed in homes. They stayed in my home, my neighbor's home, whoever had a garage apartment, a spare bedroom, they would come and stay for a week or up to a month. We partnered with the Rural Studio about 2 years ago to begin working on artist cottages. And we now have 2 cottages on site for our artists to stay in. So they're right behind me.
For Stephanie Walsh, Serenbe is a dream come true.
Sustainability has always been really important to me. At where we lived, I did a lot of recycling and composting and, you know, looking for recycled furniture or trying to buy consignment clothes. And so just wanted to live in an area that had that same concept and that was kind of driving that concept forward. So we were in Atlanta, we were looking, couldn't find anything, and one day I just decided to drive down to Serenbe, and I came in, and the moment I drove in, I knew that it was for me. It was like the skies parted and the sun was shining down, and I heard the angels singing. And of course, it was wonderful to be in a place that practices what you have been practicing and to be surrounded by people who are concerned with the environment and sustainability and the long-term health of our planet. So that was wonderful, but there's so much more than you expect when you come here. There's a sense of home and a sense of community that I think so many people are looking for. And my husband and I have traveled a lot. We have moved around a lot, both as children and as adults, and we don't have any family really close by. His brother is probably the closest, and they're about 2 hours away. My entire family is up north, and so it was so amazing to find a place where you know that at any time of the day you could knock on anyone's door, even if you are not best friends with them. You know, you end up having your closer friends. But at any time of the day, you could knock on their door and they would be there for you. And they would help you with anything you needed. So it's really nice to have that sense of community.
Once you understand about the density and bringing people closer together and the connection to nature, then we saw the other 4 key components that really add to a vital life. And one is honoring the arts. And you know, we've been removing arts from our funding in schools and public buildings. And so we created the Serenbe Institute. And we have a transfer fee that every time a house is sold now or in the future supports the Institute. So out of that has grown this incredible art program of performing visual arts. It's incredible. And so you see that whether we're talking about employing artists to do our signs and our benches and our trash cans, honoring art, having public art, it's a complete depth. The second issue is agriculture. And so our second community is focused with the farms, the market, and really the importance of local food and knowing your farmer. The third community now is on well-being, and our fourth community will be on education, although we're already doing a lot with education from small children to seniors. We have a Montessori school on campus, a charter school right off campus. So we're really dealing with those 4 key components that really are the legs to the stool for a vital community. This started as our reaction to save our own backyard. It was a very personal approach. As we've done it, we understand that there's a lot of sanity to what we've done, and there's huge interest now from people from all over the globe, not just the United States. And we realize what an important thing we're doing to create a model for other people to see. What it's like not to have lawns, what it's like to bring houses close together with front porches, what it's like to have a 900 square foot house. And you can come here now on the edge of Atlanta and actually experience that. And hopefully while you've been here on the streets, you see the vitality amongst the people living here. There is just an uplifted sense of being.
Don't go away. When Grow returns, eco-friendly building methods, plus our green hero and a recipe that's good for your body and the environment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Grow. Want to learn how to go green yourself? Check out our Earthship and Cobb construction.
Hi, this is Audrey Galix. Everything I learned about construction, I learned on an Interfaith Atlanta Habitat for Humanity build. It's so much fun. Plus, some friends and I built a cob bench in our front yard with the help of cob enthusiast Aviva Kessler. The word cob is the Old English word for loaf, and that's probably better than the word blob, which is also what the mix of mud, sand, straw, and water look like. Cover it with a lime plaster, paint it with tinted egg whites, embed a few glass and other objects in it, and it's magical and energy efficient. It's an ancient building concept. Check out this structure from Syria. It might have been 100 degrees outside, but it was cool inside. Earthship construction is the brainchild of experimental architect Michael Reynolds. He built his first experimental house, called the Thumb House, made out of aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and used tires. Earthship homes like this one in North Georgia have solar panels and geothermal cooling. Ideally, it allows residents to live off the grid, meaning no utility bills. Reynolds has called the construction technique radically sustainable.
Ever thought that going vegan wasn't for you? This recipe just might make you think again.
Hi, I'm Karen Webster, and I am the co-founder and executive director of the Healthy Seminarians Healthy Church Initiative. It's a nonprofit organization that's housed at Columbia Theological Seminary.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Portman, and I'm the Food and Nutrition Coordinator with the Humane Society United States.
And today we're going to show you how to take a classic spinach dip that you always see at Super Bowl parties, summer gatherings, anytime you've got people coming together. Basically what we're doing is taking a classic spinach dip and making it plant-based, which means it doesn't contain any meat, dairy, or eggs. And so to start off with, what I'm gonna do is you simply just have a bowl and you just use the Knorr's vegetable recipe mix. You're just gonna tear it, open it, pour it on in. And again, what's wonderful about this recipe is if, say you have a gathering on a Friday night, Saturday, and you are tight on time, this is a great recipe to make the night before. And in fact, the flavors are a lot better if you make it ahead of time. And so if you just have to come home, swing home, pick it up, and head on to your party, you're good to go. So what I did was went ahead and put in the soup mix. Then you're going to use a plant-based mayo. And today I brought 3 different options because a lot of times now, people aren't sure what to get, and different grocery stores now carry such a wide variety. We thought just to show you a couple of visual options you can have. One of them right now is Just Mayo. It's probably one of my favorite. You can find that in pretty much all grocery stores. The Veganese by Follow Your Heart, what I like about it is it's still fantastic in flavor, but it is half the fat of the other mayonnaise. Just because these are plant-based doesn't mean that they have no fat in them. They're just as tasty as regular mayo. And so for the purpose of today's recipe, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Hellmann's Veganese. And what you're gonna do is go ahead and use 1 cup. And as I was telling Rebecca the other day, is that I just eyeball things at this point, but if you wanna use a measuring cup, that's fine too. So you're gonna use a cup of mayonnaise, and then you're gonna go ahead, Veganese, and then you're gonna go ahead and use 16 ounces of the plant-based sour cream. For today's recipe, I'm using one that's made by Tofutti. Again, that was also available in local grocery stores. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just put that in.
Yeah, the thing I love about these types of mayonnaises, which are egg-free, is you can buy them anywhere. You can get Just Mayo at some of the dollar stores. You can get them at Target, Walmart, any grocery stores, and they're pretty inexpensive. How much were you saying that you paid for this one?
They're now, because there's such a lot of competition, the prices of the mayonnaise has gone down. And so now you can get them for something of this size for $5, which is the same price as some of the other regular mayonnaise. Mm-hmm. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and put in the water chestnuts. And the recipe calls for them to be chopped. And so you can buy them sliced, but I do chop them down a little bit finer than that. So you add in the 1 can of the water chestnuts. And then also, one of the key things you need to do when you're making this recipe is that it calls for the frozen chopped spinach. And the thing about the spinach is that you really want to make sure you squeeze out all of the water out of it before you put it in. So that helps so that it doesn't water down your recipe. And so as you can see, I've squeezed it, and so now it's nice and dry. And I'll go ahead and put that in.
The thing I love about this recipe is what you were saying in terms of leaving it sitting overnight. So many different recipes and dishes are better the next day, and this is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it soaks up all the flavors and, yeah.
And then another thing I like about this recipe at this time of year is the green onion. It's locally coming up, and so it's nice and fresh, and so this is a great way to highlight that within the dip. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put in 3 green onions, and again, it says that in the recipe for it to be optional, but to me it's not optional, it's a must. And so then all you do, once you add all the ingredients is, you're gonna stir it all together.
This is always such a popular one for cookouts.
Absolutely.
Or just when you're going to someone's house and you want to take a side dish, an appetizer.
Family reunions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so once you have gone ahead and stirred in all the ingredients, then on this recipe here, just gonna put a lid on, stick it in the fridge, and it's ready to go when we're ready to eat it. And of course, this can be served with chips or crackers, or of course, if you want to make the health level of it a little bit higher, you can also use some of the local seasonal produce that's available right now. And since it's springtime in Georgia, I went ahead and got some of the carrots and the cauliflower and the beets from Global Growers. They are a nonprofit organization that's located here, and they have wonderful produce for individuals to buy. They also sell their produce to the farms, and they also, one of the great things about the organization is that they help refugees have lots of land to grow their own vegetables. So I'm a huge fan of Global Growers and love being able to support them however I can. And so in a few minutes, I'll chop that up and we'll be able to enjoy it. And good eating's about to happen.
Excellent. I can't wait to taste it.
Me too.
Now, let's meet our green hero, or shall we say heroes.
Hi, my name's Travis Peterman, and this is my wife, Stephanie.
Hi.
And our
Flora.
Flora.
Our daughter.
And we just wanted to mention that, we're out here today talking about the world, and we really want to make people think about and talk about the world as a world issue. And from both political parties, actually, we need to actually talk as individuals at the local and regional level. Do you have anything to say?
I think environmentally, something that sort of concerns me is our water crisis. So that is definitely something that we should be discussing. I think it should be a bigger conversation in the grand scheme of things. And it needs to be a world that we can save for our future generations.
I think in general what keeps me up at night is just the lack of conversation from people in general. Just people not acknowledging that there is even an issue. Just a lack of engagement at the local, state, and national levels. Politically, that's the biggest thing I think that we all have to deal with, and no one's really, and it's not even just water, it's at every level, our landscape, everything. And it's not as big of a deal here in Georgia as it is out west, but we're definitely impacting other parts of the region by using water a lot. Here in Atlanta actually is a big issue. I know we're having issues with states like Alabama and Florida. No one's actually communicating with one another regarding those issues.
So what are your hopes and dreams for that little child, that precious baby? I want her to have a quality of life, and I want her to be able to enjoy nature without there being too much pollution in our city and a lack of, greenery. And I think we're doing our best in Atlanta to make that a reality and trying to keep, the greenery around and alive and saving our trees, and all of that is wonderful. And for her to be able to play in a park and not have to be, cut out of the park. I mean, that to me would be a very nice future for her. And just any kind of renewable energy, I mean, all of that is very important to me as well. We're doing our part. We have our hybrid cars and we drive them, and so that's very important to us as well as a renewable energy source. And stop fracking, stop draining our resources. That's a very big issue to me.
Yeah, and I think people also need to actually pay their taxes. And be involved. I mean, paying taxes is part of as an individual, you have to do. That's part of what we do to keep the world flowing, and part of that's water as well.
Here's to a greener, more sustainable lifestyle. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Grow. I'm Eric Moncrief, the Green Guy. Now it's up to you to be environmentally responsible and do something good for the earth.
you.